You wouldn't believe the speeds he's driven. You wouldn't believe the forces he endures. You wouldn't believe the pressure he faces every day. You wouldn't believe the sacrifices he's made. You wouldn't believe he's 15 years old. You wouldn't believe it, but he does.
So finding New Zealand's next world champion. So that is a lot of what our motorsport is about, or our connection to motorsport. If you think of where other pillars have come from, like I said, connecting with communities, connecting with Kiwis, giving youth an opportunity. From a Toyota perspective, of course, great for our brand, we're a car company. So it's good to be involved in motorsport, but we do it for a deeper purpose or meaning, and that's, I guess, what I want to try and share with you today. So when we turn up at the tracks, it's not just about trying to put our product into a showcase or in front of the general public, it's about trying to develop youth within the series that we now offer. And it's been working really well, and a lot of you guys know these stats a lot better than I do, but when you think about TRS, or Castrol Toyota Racing Series as it is now, lots of champions over a lot of years. Back from the start, a lot of New Zealand winners. We had 100% New Zealand participation in terms of the field, and I think that was because we had a big bulk amount of Kiwis there and ready for a series like TRS at the time. Obviously, we've got a lot of internationals that now come to the series, which just shows the success of how it's all going, and we obviously want that to continue into the future. It'd be nice to have a Kiwi winner again this year if we can, but we'll see how we go. Brendan. And in terms of finding New Zealand's next world champion, I just pulled together some of those people that have come through TRS and what they're doing this year on a global stage. And you know all of these guys, some of them very intimately for some of you. So Brendan and Earl, obviously through Porsche and Le Mans. Mitch Evans just signed with Jaguar and Formula E again. Richie Stanaway, we listed Weck and Aston Martin, but we all know he'll be obviously racing a V8 supercar again at Bathurst this weekend. Chris Vanderdrift, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Nick Cassidy, who's probably quite close to our hearts because Nick's connected to Toyota and Lexus back in Japan through Super Formula and obviously the LC500. So, you know, the formula has worked spectacularly well given the purpose of why we started TRS. And it's worked well for internationals. Again, a lot of names that you guys know, but from a Formula 2 perspective, a lot of good names in there, Ferrucci, Ilott, Jordan King, and so on. And when you look at the bottom with Artem Markelov, 2 seasons in TRS, I think 2, wasn't 3, 2 seasons, running for Russian time, obviously. And then into Formula 1, we've had 2 graduates that have made it all the way through there from an international perspective. Again, we'd love to find New Zealand's next world champion, but it's good to show that our category helps develop these guys, obviously, into future stars. So it's working really, really well. We want to carry on with that. I mean, there's a lot of graduates in there. I won't run through all of these ones, but you know, we can't take the credit for their success, but we have helped them on their motorsport journey, as I say. So that's the core purpose for why we're involved in motorsport. This year, I'm quite pleased to announce that with 86, we're going to integrate our marketing of 86 into a similar theme, because we all know there's kind of a single-seater path and there's a tin-top path, and the tin-top path is just as important. 86, really competitive series in its own right, so Jeff's done a great job in pulling that together. But of course, we want to promote that as being a stepping stone of equal right to TRS. So you'll see a lot of our assets, like our truck and so on this season, will be updated with a similar sort of look and theme to TRS. So that's going to be a good push. Now, Grandad and Billy, we made a bit of a clip. It wasn't really necessarily directly involved in motorsport, but most Kiwis kind of get that there's competition that comes with these sorts of activities.
Ready?
Ready as.
I wasn't ready! I wasn't ready! Billy!
Why do you want to voice his old carts there, maybe? So that's what I wanted to cover in terms of the brand, right? So the 4 pillars, that's where motorsport fits, and it's about developing youth. Just coming into motorsport more specifically, we've got a long history in motorsport, and again, a lot of you would know more about this than I would. You know, the really sort of screaming, harsh-sounding 4AG engines back in the Atlantic days, fabulous cars, and then from a tin-top perspective, the last era we kind of finished with the Altezza 2-litre touring car, obviously with Barry Tomlinson. Just coming into the new era, 2004 and 5, we started the Toyota Racing Series with the FT40, and then in 2013 we started the TR86 Championship. So some good heritage sitting there, and obviously we've moved on a lot as time goes on, and I'm trying to show a bit of this in this timeline here. So just in the top, this is kind of the timeline for TRS from 2004 all the way through until now, which is our move to this facility at Hampton. So we started back in 04. We got the New Zealand Grand Prix awarded to us, which we still retain, which is absolutely awesome. We introduced E85 biofuel. obviously, and we still run that biofuel in our cars now, so good environmental perspective on that. 2010 we started the International Series, and that I guess just reflected what was happening with the championship. More internationals, needed to consolidate or condense the amount of rounds that we had into those consecutive weekends, so that's what we did then. Introduced the new FT50 cars, which you see here in 2015, and we started the Kiwi Driver Fund, which is obviously independent from Toyota, and I'll touch on that in a bit more detail shortly. 86 started in 2013, and what I'm proposing now is we're shifting it into that finding New Zealand's next world champion kind of positioning, and we're moving 86 here as well, and that's why you see the cars sitting here. So good long history for both categories, obviously, and what I'll do is I'll talk a bit about Castrol TRS, and then I'll invite Jeff up to talk a bit more about Toyota 86. So let's look back at last season. All comes around pretty quick, doesn't it? So a great championship last year. Obviously our most competitive or closest, I think, that we've had probably ever when it came down to the wire. Obviously with Thomas taking the title. So for this season, we basically carry on with the formula that you all know really well, with one make chassis from Tattoos, same engines, and we basically carry on with the same format, including the New Zealand Grand Prix, which is where the championship culminates in Manfield, obviously. In terms of the events, 5 rounds again, exactly the same format as last year, so Ruapuna, Teretonga, obviously Taupo, Hampton and Manfield, as I say, at the end. And we've got all those major trophies, so we're looking forward to another really big season, and it's a really good recipe. So there's a few little upgrades to the cars, which Mark can talk about, but they're more focused on just stability of the cars rather than necessarily any performance enhancements. We carry on with the same professional environment. As you guys know, we try and take as much as we can to the facilities. It's great to have a lot of the tracks now with their own sheds rather than marquees, but we try and do the best that we can at each circuit we go to. Integrated paddock again this year. We offer the same facilities and technical liaison, and we've got a lot of comprehensive marketing that we're looking to push out again this year as well. So similar sort of recipe for TRS. 4 teams again, so we really thank the teams for their ongoing involvement in the championship or in the series. Really like a family now. The guys have been with us for so long. It's just really good to one, have them here today, but to know that we're going to the season with such experience behind us. Obviously Victory, MTech, Giles and M2. So thanks guys for your participation and ongoing support of the championship. I should also thank our sponsors. Castrol came on board in 2017. It's a great partnership for us, obviously. Castrol have been synonymous with Toyota for some time, particularly in rallying, but really good to have them on board for the Castrol Toyota Racing Series. Toyota Financial Services, obviously one of our core business partners. Chris, good to have you here today. They've been there for the long term with our motorsport. Century Yuasa, Post-Haste, Michelin and Cellini. Again, good core sponsors that we've got connected to the Toyota Racing Series who'll be there with us again. From an 86 perspective, Best Bars, or what we're shifting to, is now called T-Custom. So T-Custom are a Toyota, not necessarily genuine accessories, but a T-Custom is a range of accessories that we've got to put on our Toyota vehicles, Butte Utes, and then this year we're announcing a tyre partnership with Hankook, which is around obviously reducing the costs to competitors, and we'll see how they go, but by all accounts that's looking really successful at the moment. So this season is looking good across both categories, and I shouldn't sort of not talk about KDF when I talk about TRS because it's such an important part of what we do. So the Kiwi Driver Fund, for those that don't know, obviously we get funding from some of those partners I just talked about, so Post-Haste and Michelin primarily, but now Hampton Downs and Highlands, obviously through Tony and Josie and the team, have got on board with the Kiwi Driver Fund as well, so thanks Josie for that. When you look at what the Kiwi Driver Fund's done over the last 3 years for Kiwis, we supported 4 drivers in 16, 3 in 2017, and we're expecting somewhere between 3 and 4, maybe even 5, who knows, this season. But there's about $150,000 worth of funding awarded each year by the Kiwi Driver Fund. So it's an initiative that I know a lot of you guys couldn't compete without. It's managed by 5 independent trustees. Kenny, I see you're here today as well as one of those. A lot of good key contributors, and so yeah, a big part of trying to make the New Zealand side work for TRS. So that's all I had on Castrol Toyota Racing Series for this season. So I'd like to invite Jeff Short now up to talk about 86, and just as Jeff comes up, we'll just show a series clip from last year. So Jeff.
And in fact it was 4 cars involved. Wide at turn 1, he just couldn't turn in. Oh no! And he split it! Milligan turning in on his line and hits Lockwood, and then gets hit behind, and Lockwood in trouble.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was upside down very early, and then it's barrel roll.
Oh, and then gets hit! Oh, well, that says the signal. The rookie gets it wrong and spins it round. He just got too far wide. And Brian Yardley, nicely done by Reed Harker. Oh, drama! Ransley's off, Adams off. And something went wrong going into Toyota there. Involved with this, but Yardley did a very good job.
Thanks, Andrew. My speaker's working. Yeah, look, I'm certainly, with the 5th year of the Toyota 86 series, I'm certainly very privileged to have been invited to join the team 2 years ago, and certainly Toyota's commitment is unfounded within the sport. It's the most professional series I've ever been involved with. The series started from 20 cars that were built within these sorts of facilities, and certainly to have this sort of facility moving forward, the commitment from Toyota is absolutely unbelievable for all of our young racers that are coming through. We've built 20 cars to the same specification, giving all racers an equal opportunity to go out and challenge their own skills. The cars were built from an ideal platform. This little sports car is just such an ideal car to develop into a race car. We've obviously put in race suspension, brakes, Motec data, so you've got young people coming through that have the ability effectively to learn to go and race an identical car. There's 6 rounds this series, as per last year. We start at V8 Supercars in a month's time. We've obviously got our first test day here for those that are here, and we go right the way through to the final here in March 2018. As Andrew announced, we've got a new tyre partnership with Hankook, and we did a lot of tyre testing, and we were looking for something that was more cost effective for our competitors. So the Hankook tyre we've gone to this year is a semi-slick as well as a wet tyre, so it has reduced the costs, and it's certainly given an exceptional performance with the cars. We're within a second of where our race times were last year. Certainly without those sponsors, Hankook, T-Custom and Butte Utes, we wouldn't have the series that we've got today. Toyota's commitment to the series is phenomenal, and as I say, I've been involved in racing for many years and certainly very proud to be involved with this series. We've got a prize fund of over $100,000, which provides opportunities like we've got young Jack going to Bathurst, Ash blew it last year, raced at Bathurst, so the support that you've got around the series is like no other series, I believe, in New Zealand. We've got technical support, we've got media support, and you can see obviously just with a facility like this, there's no one else that does it like Toyota do it here in New Zealand. And I think it's an exciting opportunity for us to develop a series that I don't think anyone could match. And certainly that connection of that prize pool and having an opportunity to go to the likes of Bathurst is something you can't buy those sorts of experiences. Some of the winners, obviously, we've had four championship winners, starting with Jamie McNee in 13-14, Tom Alexander, Ash Blewett and Ryan Yardley. Ryan and Reid, just to give you a little bit of background on where people are aspiring to go to. I know Ryan and Reid are both obviously aiming to go into the pinnacle, which is obviously Toyota Racing Series, so they're both trying to find the funding to move forward. So it is a great development category for all of our young drivers to come through. Marcus, obviously, Armstrong from last year, obviously did some time in an 86 and was helpful in his development to work his way through to where he is now. Tom Alexander, probably the plan's not where he wants it to be, but Tom's announced that he's coming back into the series this year because he sees it as the most professional series to be involved in here in New Zealand at a cost-effective rate. Just a little bit of background, we've obviously got 2 cars here, one of our race cars, our new test car, race car, and we've also built and developing what we call a club sport car, and that car's effectively for people that come along here and want to do a track day or want to do club days, want to go out and do Targa. It's effectively on the same basis of our race car, so the chassis is identical. We've built the roll cage, seats, belts, everything there is identical to our race car except it's standard suspension, and then it can be modified. The plan is with it that you can go out and do all sorts of different events, but you can, within our workshop facilities, we can modify it to the same specification as what our race cars are. So we've got a pool of another 20 cars effectively that can eventually be series race cars, or they can be just a track day car that you can go and have a lot of fun with. Yeah, look, that's it from me, and appreciate your time, and I'll hand you back to Andrew.
Yeah, thanks to Jeff and also to Kat, obviously, for the management and running of the 86 Championship. It's working really, really well. And as Jeff said, the car is just perfect for it. So just before I invite Mark up, I just wanted to talk you through our motorsport structure for this season going forwards. It sort of saddens me to talk about it a little bit in some ways, but I'm quite excited at the same time because we've taken the opportunity with the centralisation of the facility to here to do a bit of work around the management of our categories and of motorsport for Toyota. There's a few reasons for that. From a motorsport perspective, I've highlighted Steve Boyce's name there in red. He's kind of Mr. Toyota Motorsport for us and has been for a number of years. So Steve's retiring formally from Toyota New Zealand at the end of this year. Amazing you can retire at the age of 50, Steve, but he's retiring at the end of this year. But he's going to be with us for this season because we've got quite a new team. So Steve's going to share his wealth of knowledge and experience with us. But it's going to be sad to see Steve stepping aside. I'm sure he won't be away for too long. But thanks, Steve. So Mark Whittaker's taking up the mantle, as most of you know, as our motorsport manager, and he'll obviously be based here. At the same time, we're making some alterations from a category perspective. Obviously, you all know Barry and Louise Tomlinson really well in TRM. Done a fantastic job with the Castrol Toyota Racing Series for the last 13 years, and they're hugely passionate as well about youth and motorsport. So we thank them a lot for their contribution. They're not here today, but we obviously wish Barry and Louise all the best in terms of their future. And we're obviously altering our structure to centralise a group of Toyota resources now rather than contractors to run the series for us. So I thought rather than me talk about the new people that we've got coming on board, why not get them involved? So Mark's going to come up now and talk about Toyota Racing New Zealand. So thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Drew. Well, good morning. I'm Mark Whittaker, and I've come on board with Toyota New Zealand and Toyota Racing in the last 4 or 5 months. And actually, it's second time around for me. I have worked previously for Toyota for a decade and been off and done other things. But before I worked for Toyota, I actually worked professionally in motorsport for a number of years. So that's probably how come I happen to be here. And so with Toyota race cars and the 86s in this new facility, it's sort of a dream job for me really to come on board with this. Also, I'm going to talk about them a bit more in a moment. We've got Sarah Brown and Nicholas Cale who have come on board as category managers. I'll tell you a bit more about them. And we've got a technical person. We've got a technical manager for Toyota Racing Series and a technical manager for the 86s who are based here with me. So basically, the top tier of the staff here that you can see on the top there are now full-time employees with Toyota. But we still have a whole group of people that help us do all the other stuff. So, engines, for example, David, our engine builder, is here sitting somewhere today. And we've got Lou who does our gearboxes, and we've got a carbon person. So we've got a whole group of contractors who have been with us for a long time and have got a huge amount to offer us, a huge amount of experience with us as well. So when we go away at the end of the year, we'll have a team of about 30-something people that come away with us. I mentioned our category managers, Sarah and Nico. When we were setting up the structure for this, we thought we'd get one category manager. And so we started advertising and started headhunting for the people that we wanted to do this job. And we found 2 people who were so fantastic, we said, what we need to do is get both of them. So how do we do it? So we've restructured and fitted in both of these people, and they've got a huge amount of experience for us. Just talk about Nico first, because Nico has got a huge amount of experience in motorsport, but unfortunately he's not here today. He's got some commitments with the team Genza Motorsport out of Switzerland that he's been managing. And so he's actually in Jerez in Spain at the moment doing one of his last commitments, and he'll join us again in a couple of weeks. And then we've got him full time. So he's a master's degree engineer and 14 or 15 years in motorsport, but not just as an engineer, but he's been managing teams as well. So logistics and all those sorts of things, he's had a huge amount of experience in. And obviously you can see with the categories that he's worked in. But also from a TRS point of view, he's worked with M2 here as their engineer for the last 6 years, so he's got a huge amount of knowledge about the cars and how the whole series runs. So it's really going to be great to have him on board. Fantastic. And Nico also, as his engineer, can also help young drivers analyse their data and all those sorts of things. And then our other category manager is Sarah Brown, who we stole from Supercars. And rather than me tell you about Sarah, we're going to invite Sarah up and she can tell you a bit about herself.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Brown, and as Mark said, I'm one half of the category management team for the Castrol Toyota Racing Series. As you've probably detected by now, I am Australian, and to add to your disappointment, I do not follow rugby union. I am, however, passionate about motorsport. Although I've only been with Toyota Racing for 3 weeks, I have been in the industry for close to 10 years, working for Supercars Australia. Over that time, I have gained an appreciation for motorsport conducted to a high standard and with professionalism front of mind. And that's why I couldn't turn down the offer to join the team at Toyota Racing here in New Zealand. There's no doubting that the Castrol Toyota Racing Series is the premier category in the country, and Nico and I are committed to ensuring it remains the must-do series for young drivers from around the world and for New Zealand's next world champion.
Thanks, Sarah. So from my point of view, we've got two amazing people with amazing skill sets that overlap really well, but they also are so complementary. They've worked together a bit already, and I think from my point of view, we've got the dream team, so it's going to be really good. Obviously, a big part of where we are now is we've got this fantastic new facility. I'll take you for a tour of that in a little while. But as it's part of Hampton Downs, we're part of Hampton Downs Motorsport Park now, I'd like to invite Josie up, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Hampton Downs and Highlands. Thanks, Josie.
Well, good morning everybody, and thank you Mark for that welcome. It's a pleasure to be representing the team here at Hampton Downs and welcoming Toyota to our wider motorsport family. Tony does send his apologies, however, all I can say at the end of the day is that you've ended up with a far better, younger option with much more appropriate language than him, so I'd take it as a win. Given that I'm also the last speaker today, and Tony always seems to be bemoaning the fact that I have to have the last word, it seems that it was meant to be. It's with pride that we welcome Toyota officially today here at Hampton Downs. It's fair to say that as a Quindom group, we've come a long way since we opened Highlands almost 5 years ago. And as someone who is charged with the strategic direction, I feel I'm qualified to let you know that we are only just getting started. We're not afraid to be bold, direct, or innovative, and we've continued to deliver on our promise of being exceptional. To date, we've invested over $70 million into the facilities at Hampton Downs and Highlands. And by we, I mean Tony, but let's not mess with semantics here. At the end of the day, it might be his money, but it's the team at Hamptons and Highlands' blood, sweat and tears that has delivered his promise. To have Toyota recognise Hampton Downs as a destination worthy of their support and confirm as an anchor tenant here, in many ways confirms our belief that we are on the right track. Because, let's face it, not everyone has necessarily welcomed us with open arms. But today's about the positive, and it would be remiss of me not to mention Steve Boyce, who has been relentless in his support of Toyota. He's been a tough but fair negotiator and a passionate advocate for change and growth. I recall a quote from Henry Ford that reminds me somewhat of Steve. If I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Thanks, Steve, for being brave, bold, and innovative. I've enjoyed our working relationship immensely, and I have learnt a lot about the art of negotiating from you. So what has Steve exactly got the Toyota racing team and wider Toyota team into? Well, in my very humble opinion, he's backed a world-class facility with experiences to match. You've heard today all about Toyota and the direction that they are heading with imagination and innovation. We're no different, and it's perhaps why our businesses have aligned so well. We believe in the same things. We love working hard, doing our bit, and like Toyota, we are never satisfied until we've got the job right. Hampton Downs is a destination, and I'm delighted to announce today that we are soon going to be home to a 68-room, 4-star hotel, with opening set down for 2019. And Eyesight will also be a new tenant here at the end of 2017, And we've also confirmed a cafe with on-site coffee roaster, whose backdrop is going to be the live workshop we see here today. If you partner all of that with what the team at Hampton Downs, and today I'm joined by Cherie, Elton and Mike, have already brought along in just 2 years, they've cemented ourselves as a world leader while also providing the gateway to tourism in the Waikato. We've go-karts, drive and ride products, a 4-wheel drive track, a garage storage facility, a private membership, and we deliver 8 major events annually, which is a breakdown of 5 motorsports events and 3 cycle and run events. I'd also just like to caution you all with some relief that TQ is only a competitor in the motorsport events. I was discussing with the team last night, the world's just not quite ready for him in Lycra. We also have over 30 weekend motorsport events here, which are run by other promoters. That momentum is indicative of how we push on. We believe that good people can and will make great things happen. And we are doing just that, putting the stake in the ground as being the premier motorsport and entertainment facility in Australasia. So to our Toyota team, Andrew, Mark, Nico, who's not here, Sarah, Jeff, and of course Steve, thank you, and we look forward to making future world-class champions with you at one of the best motorsport facilities in the world. In the words of your own brand, a better tomorrow starts today. On behalf of TQ and the team, welcome to today.
And I'd have to say, having been involved in setting up this facility, the Hampton Downs team have been great to work with, and so you've been so helpful, and especially Elton, I can see he's hiding over there. Yeah, it just makes the whole place much easier to do with their assistance, so thank you. We're about to do a tour, but before we do that, it's probably an opportunity to have a bit of Q&A if you've got any questions, and if I ask the Toyota Racing management to come back up to the front, please. Steve, do you want to join us? So if you've got any questions, by all means, ask away.
I know I'm probably a little biased, but it's a sensational facility. I just had a question. We've been seeing a lot about driverless cars, EVs, those kinds of things coming through in the mainstream media. What's the medium-term future for TRS?
EVs or hybrids, or
in terms of what's next? I mean, the cars and the power plants have been sensationally reliable. They hit the horsepower numbers consistently. What's next? What's your next step?
it's a good question, Mark. We, in terms of, and Steve, you can correct me, but in terms of upgrading a car to the FT50, we looked at the power unit at the same time. Big challenge was around cost. You know, obviously we can update the power unit, but it just becomes more expensive, and then I think that becomes less attainable to Kiwis to then run in the series. So we thought, well, let's carry over the power unit, upgrade the car, and see how we go. Our initial hope was that the car will see us for a similar term to the FT40, but you never know because technology is advancing so quickly. We are keeping an eye on what's happening from a power perspective. We'd love to put something hybrid or something a little bit different into the cars, but again, it's all cost related. So we don't have anything definitive, I guess, Mark. Options are open, but cost is probably the biggest thing we're trying to look at.
We've got another few years to think about it.
Sorry, I guess from an environmental perspective as well, is the movement to E85 was a step in trying to reduce that carbon footprint. But as Andrew said, I mean, the cost at the moment for hybrids and batteries and all the rest of it, it's beyond what the series is really about as far as maintaining the costs. So, I mean, I put in the budget some money for some new engines, but yeah, when that happens, we're not sure. Yeah.
Anyone else? All right.
Too easy.
That's easy.
Easy.